Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got something a little different for you in this video. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the all-new Star Wars Launch Edition Micro Galaxy Squadron Millennium Falcon. So this is an all-new scale of toys and figures that they're putting out, and it has an incredible level of detail and interactivity that you can do with these. So I'm really digging what I'm seeing so far, but let's go ahead and get into the packaging, and we'll slide that right on over. This is a pretty good sized box. So you get your Star Wars logo, motion activated lights and sounds. Right here's the little pod where everybody lives, and it's Series 1 Micro Galaxy Squadron Millennium Falcon. There's some nice artwork right there. Turning it over to the side, you've got some nice artwork going on. And to the back, you have your product shots. Shows off some of the features there. Lights, sounds, motion activated lights. All cool stuff. You've got retractable landing gear. The cockpit opens up. You've got this over there. And then down here, collect them all. This is what we have so far. Well, not what I have, but this is what's available so far. And over here on this side, motion activated lights and sounds. And on the bottom, to wrap it up, you have all that. So there you go. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and see what came inside that box. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that comes inside that box with the Millennium Falcon. And we'll start over here. You do get a little sheet of instructions to basically show you how to install your batteries. And over here on the right, you do get the two accessories for the Millennium Falcon, and we'll start back here. This is the radar dish, of course, which no Millennium Falcon is complete without that. It looks pretty darn good. So this is just a plug and play kind of thing. So nice weathering on there. I do like the way this radar dish looks. And you just plug it into the port right up there. And then you do get the turret. Now this gun turret is for the top, for this central area right here. And yeah, it looks alright. It's nothing incredibly amazing, but decent weathering on there. And then you do have a little bit of the ability to flip that around on that axis right there. So same thing, you just plug it in and there you go. So now you're left with just the Millennium Falcon and the 4 characters, and we'll start left to right over here, and we'll start with Han Solo. And for a figure this size, I'm pretty impressed with the level of detail. I mean, you know, gosh, he's just a little guy, and look at how distinctive they've gotten. There's no doubt that that's Han Solo. I think that looks pretty good, really. And taking a look at him from the back, even back there, good attention to detail, I think, for something this small. Now, as far as articulation on these figures go, I don't think you get anything in the head, and frankly, I'm not going to crank too hard on that head to try to find out, because I don't want to rip the head off. But you do have the ability to raise the arms at the shoulders. So, well, they don't necessarily have to come up together, but you can do them separately as well. And then down here at the legs, same thing. So one leg up, one leg down, if you want to do that. So they go back that far, forward that far. Arms will go, you know, unnaturally far all the way around if you want to. All right, so that is Han. And let's move on to Chewbacca. I don't think Chewbacca's done quite as well as Han Solo was. I think they missed a few things on Chewie, but he still looks pretty good. There's no doubt. This is a Wookiee that we're looking at, and he does have big old feet. And the articulation is the same. He does have his bandolier, which is nice. So the articulation is the same on Chewie here. Arms up and legs up. So you can easily get them in a sitting position. Legs don't go back very far at all. They only go back that far. And you don't get any split or anything like that. So you get shoulder and hip joints to move the arms up and down and move the legs forward and back. And then moving on to these two little figures over here. Let's start with Princess Leia. They are similar in their setup because they both have capes here. So that is Princess Leia. Maybe not quite as pretty as Carrie Fisher, but there it is from the back. So you do have a little bit of silver on that belt. Looks pretty good. Same thing here, arms up, arms down. And then you have, this is all one piece down here, all one molded piece. So it comes up, it goes down, There you go. But they are nice. All the figures actually do have some pretty good stability, so it's not that difficult to get them to stand up. And let's get to crazy old Ben Kenobi. Just that weirdo who lived in the desert. And yeah, he looks pretty good. I mean, definitely got a beard going on. You can see the lightsaber right there. Nice layering, paint effects look pretty good. Again, for a figure this size, I'm not really going to complain too much. I like what I'm seeing. There he is from the back. And he has the same articulation as Princess Leia, arms up. Hey, what am I doing? This is when he was scaring the Jawas away. Woo! And then the legs will come up like that. All right, so there you go. Now, that is all the accessories unless you want to count this backdrop. I don't know if they intended this as a backdrop, but I know that Hasbro does this for the Studio Series Transformers and provides a backdrop, and this is kind of cool. I don't know exactly how one could use this, especially considering that the Millennium Falcon doesn't actually sit all the way on the base. So I've got about as far back as it'll go before it starts running into the back of this thing. But it was kind of cool. If you've got the room and you've got the creativity, it might be something you could do to set up a nice little diorama here. So with that, that takes care of everything that came inside the box except for the old freighter itself. So let's bring the Millennium Falcon in and take a look at those details. So before we really started manhandling this, I figured I would go ahead and throw it on the turntable so you could get a nice 360-degree view of what we're working with here. And props to the design, engineering, and manufacture of this little Millennium Falcon, because they've done a great job for a mass-produced, mainline, non-model kit, just something that you can buy off the shelf. This thing looks really well done. So really from every angle, it looks very nice. And I would say that for me, it's probably one of the more realistic looking Millennium Falcon toys that I've seen. And I think, like I said, from any angle, it really, really looks good. One thing that I do want to point out is that I think that the cockpit is maybe a little bit too long, but they designed that to accommodate all 4 figures in here. So the cockpit might be a little bit on the long side, and I don't think the scale is quite right for the figures themselves. I mean, they got pretty darn close, but I still think that the figures are just, this is a little too small, or the figures are just a little bit too big. And we'll see that a little bit later when we talk about some of the features available in this. But yeah, I wanted to throw them on the turntable here and give you that 360-degree view free of my big old hands being in your way. So now that we've done that, now we'll go ahead and we'll take it off the turntable and we'll really start diving into those details. So now that we've got that turntable out of the way, let's go ahead and bring the Millennium Falcon in for a close-up. And we'll just start up here in the front. Everywhere you look, I mean, even deep down in here, you have nice paint and weathering and detail going on, and I really hope the camera's doing it justice here. I hope I'm getting enough light in there to really show that off. They've done just a fine job here with the coloring and the weathering. And coming over here to that cockpit, I mean, that looks pretty good right there. Good detail all the way around. And I'm going to open this up here shortly, but let's go ahead and get all the way around this, and then we'll open her up. You got the sides right there, just everywhere you look. All this sculpted in detail. Looks so good. Got the vents back there where they're all dirty. Coming over here to this side, a lot of the same stuff. Just looks good all the way around. And looking up underneath, even underneath here, they did not skimp. So you do have a molded in turret down here. So, you know, you can't move this or anything, but again, the detail is pretty good. Landing gear, all have nice detail on them. And they are retractable, and if you look up under there, even up inside, detail up in there as well. So yeah, very, very well done. You do have the information right there. So you've got a little bit of the logo and all that stuff going on. And then we'll see the lights here shortly. Lights look really cool as well. So, all right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and I'll set her back down, and then I'll go ahead and I'll take the cover off. We'll get this all opened up, and we'll go from there. All right, so to save a lot of unnecessary camera shake, I've gone ahead and I've opened everything up. Everything works fine. It's just, it snaps together really securely. So if I have my arms in the light box, I'm going to shake the camera, and I know when I'm watching reviews I don't like that, so I'm trying to spare you guys that as well. But let's go ahead and we'll start with the cockpit here. You just open the cockpit like this, and you do get pretty good detail. Now there's nothing really painted in here, but man, the sculpt work is just for a figure, or for a toy ship at this price point, you get a lot going on. So that's really impressive. And then of course you do have the figures that just sit right in there, and we'll demonstrate that real quick. So we'll just take Han Solo here and throw him in. We'll put him right in his little seat, and there you go. So how cool is that? And then if you close this up, you can still see him in there, which is really neat. Now unfortunately they do not have seatbelts in here, so as you play with this, as I have done, you're going to flip this upside down and sideways and do all this kind of stuff. They're going to shift around, particularly Obi-Wan and Princess Leia have a tendency to shift around more than Chewie and Han for whatever reason. Might be due to the separate legs. But yeah, cockpit is really cool. I did want to mention a couple of other things before we get any further. You can move this radar dish around if you want to. There's nothing right here, so it's a fixed angle there, but as far as rotation, you can rotate that around. And then this turret, you can move this all the way around, and of course up and down, however you want to do that. And then this center piece comes out, makes it easier to load the figure in there. So you've just got this little keyway here, this little notch, and you just line this up right there, and that'll allow you to slide that out. And if it's not located there, then it stays locked in place. You do have some detail in there as well, so you can take, let's say for instance, a Chewbacca and stick Chewie in there. It's not the easiest thing to get in there with, yeah, he's never going to shoot anything that way. Anyway, it's not the easiest thing to get in there unless you have really tiny hands. So there we go. Stick Chewie in. Oh, you're crooked. Chewie, you're crooked. What are you doing? It's poor discipline. Anyway, you get the gist. You can put him in there, and then you just drop him in, and then he is ready to go. So you can do all that, and if you take a look in there, you can see Chewie's big old feet. So very, very cool. I do like that indeed. We're going to leave him in there for now. Why not? And then another thing before we get any further is you do have the retractable landing gear. There's nothing special here. You just flip them closed and flip them open. And you do have 5 of them. So they do work in tandem. So this side works together in tandem, and this side works together in tandem. So there you go. And then you have your little landing, or your what would the runway, not the runway. I'm blanking out on it. I'm going to think of it midway through the review. But the plank, boardwalk, whatever you want to call it, there it is. It's where they come out of the ship. That's where they go in the ship. That's where they were having the firefight when they were trying to leave and get away. So, you know, pew, 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 pew. But you can see from a scale standpoint, Han is going to hit his head. You know, he's really got to duck to get up in there and get away last minute, and then just close that up and fly off. Ooh, he fits very securely in there, though. He's laying down. Han, what are you doing? No, laying down on the job. But yeah, there you go. So the cockpit, when you close it, you can hear a very distinctive click. So that stays locked really well. This does as well. So you've got these clips right here. When you give that a push, you get a very distinctive click, and that's not going anywhere until you really crank on it hard. So it does fit nice and flush. All right, so making our way to the back. Now we will do the big reveal for the inner area. So there are a couple clips on either side here. You just lift this up and give it a little wiggle. So you have these little clips right there that just lock in right there. And let's put that off to the side. And there you go. So there is the interior of the Millennium Falcon. And you can see from a detail standpoint, if you really want to get into that pretend play, you can totally pretend to have somebody walk in this way to get to that gun turret. And then as it spins around, you can see it closes up. So that's really cool. Then if you were to open the the gangplank, that's it, gangplank. Oh my gosh, it's driving me crazy. When you open the gangplank back up, you can see that you do have that opening. Unfortunately, it doesn't, you know, go all the way. So if you were to take Obi-Wan here, you know, he's wanting to leave. He's got to take a heck of a jump. Whoa, to get all the way down there and then to slide out. So slide out, slide out, slide out. Oh, ooh, that probably hurt. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, so you've got the little chessboard back here, the little area where they sit. And you'll notice, as is typical Star Wars canon, there are no restrooms on the Millennium Falcon, so I hope you went before you went into Lightspeed. So, but this does have one extra really cool added little feature that wasn't listed anywhere, but it is certainly there. You have smuggling storage. So if you just reach up under here and move this out of the way, you've got a little hidden area. So it's definitely big enough for people. So if you need to hide a princess, for instance, you could throw a princess in there, and then you could put this back in and hide her. If you can get it to lock in, there we go. And then you can hide her. Look at that. It's like there's no princess in there whatsoever. So really, really cool. I do very much enjoy that. And whoop, dump the princess. And let's take Obi-Wan, and we'll put him over here. Because of his legs, he's not entirely natural when he's sitting down. It's one of those. But you can totally pull that off. Where you have him, I'm trying to show you an angle where he's not falling over while I'm showing it. But you can totally have him sitting there watching as the Wookiee threatens to rip the arms off anybody that beats him at the game. So really cool, really cool. So much going on with this little thing. I adore it. It's just awesome. I'm a fan of miniatures anyway and dioramas, that kind of stuff. So the fact that they pack so much detail into this, I'm digging it. Even on the backside of this piece, you know, you do have a pretty good amount of weathering and detail there. Not the kind of thing that you would expect to see, but it's very cool. And then these two areas right here, these are the buttons, which we're going to get to shortly for your lights and sounds. But yeah. So you do have those two buttons right there. And then, of course, you depress them here, and they've got the little plungers right there that push in. So very cool. Very, very cool. I very much enjoy this. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the really fun part, which is the lights and the sounds. So I'm going to turn my lighting down in my light box here so we can get the full effect of what goes on back here. All right, it's time for the big reveal. As if I wasn't already bought in with the attention to detail and all the cool little things that you can do here, you do also get lights and sounds. So without further ado, let's light this firecracker. So you're just going to come over here, you're going to push this button, and oh yeah, isn't that cool? And then you do have they are motion activated based on the angle of the Millennium Falcon. So if you're taking off, and if you're descending, and if you're going side to side, oh, and if you're flying, you probably shouldn't have your landing gear. So, and then you can hold it, and you can have a few other things happening for light speed. So you can loop that. And then when you come on down, oh, I gotta set my landing gear. Oh, landing gear. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this on in frame. So just gotta get my landing gear. Come on, landing gear. There we go. All right, so and come on down, and then just push the button to turn it off. Let's do that again. Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot. I'm a kid at heart, and this absolutely brings it out. Love this. Very, very cool. Now, you also get gun sounds. So if you were to push this button, if only the guns would light up either above or below the tip, that would have really set it off. But still, you know, and if you hold this, it just loops. So there you go. Unfortunately, you can't do both at the same time. So, you know, if you do this, you're not going to get. So it's one or the other, but at least you can stay lit while you're doing some shooting. So very, very cool. And then just If only it had a landing sound, just that. Yeah, that would have been cool. So, don't get me wrong here, guys. I love my Transformers, but I'm a big fan of Star Wars as well. And this thing just fills me with joy. Fills me with joy and happiness. And to top it all off, let's go ahead and turn that off. And to top it all off, you got the gang all up here. They just exited. They've come out of a heck of a battle. You can see Obi-Wan's a little shaken up. He felt a disturbance in the Force. And we go, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, one of those. If only that you could get a picture of them, like when you're on a roller coaster at Disney World. So, oh, geez, if you flip the cockpit while the... Oh, no, Chewie hung on. Oh, Obi-Wan hung on. Yeah, there... Oh, nope, there goes Obi-Wan. Chewie, you're the winner. All right, so with that, that is all the features and gimmicks and details on this guy. So let's go ahead and we'll do some comparisons and see how he stacks up against some other ships out there. Hey, real quick, before we get into those ship comparisons, I figured I would do a figure comparison here so you can get an idea of just how small these figures are. So in the middle is the Chewbacca that comes with the Millennium Falcon. And I have him flanked by two different Chewbaccas. This one on the left is my original Chewbacca that I had when I was a kid. The one on the right is the Chewbacca from the Force Awakens movie. And then, of course, we have a Lego Gamorrean Guard. I know I have a Lego Chewie somewhere. I just can't find him right now. And because Transformers... This is the Spike Witwicky masterpiece figure that either came with Ultra Magnus or Optimus Prime. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But there you go for a size comparison, and you can see just how tiny these figures are. All right, so simply due to the size of what we're dealing with here, it's kind of difficult to get a side-by-side comparison going. So I decided I would just go ahead and stack them. So down here, this is the Force Awakens Millennium Falcon. And then, of course, this is that new Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon that we've been looking at. So you can see that there's a pretty significant size difference there. I'm going to try to so slowly spin this guy around and show you from a scale perspective what we're looking at here. So you can see just how significant that size difference is there. So if I, lined him up this way and showed you like that, I mean, you can see what we're working with here. Considerably smaller, still an incredible amount of fun though, so make no mistake. But yeah, that's a pretty significant size difference. And I can't not do this, so bear with me. I mean, it's too much fun. I have to do this. Oh no, my gun didn't come up. There we go. Yeah, that's fun. There's a little Chewbacca in there. And since I did that, I have to do this. Oh yeah, good times. Now, lucky for you, I don't have a Nerf dart loaded in there. But there you go. All right, so let's move on to the next comparison. We're going to get this ginormous hunk out of the way and move on to the next. For our next comparison, here we see that Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon sitting on top of the Star Wars Force Link 2.0 Kessel Run Millennium Falcon. So you can see there is a distinct size difference here between those two, even though this Millennium Falcon is a little bit smaller than the one that we had just seen. This is actually a single-person cockpit on this, but it does have that little escape pod up front. So still very cool in its own right. And since I pressed the button on the previous one, I'm going to press a button on this one. So let's do it. All right, there you go. All right, now that we got the that button pushing out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to our next comparison. Next up for our comparisons, on the left is that Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon, and on the right is the Micro Machines playset Millennium Falcon from The Force Awakens. And you can see they're really close to the same size as far as scale goes. The Micro Machines is just a tick larger. So a little bit more size there, but still weathering, detail, everything. This absolutely takes the cake. As this is not supposed to, it's merely meant to just open up and become a playset. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that real quick, just because I want to play with toys right now. So you just take this and you lift it up, and boom, just like that, you have a playset. And then you can lift this up, and then you can, take this, take this Millennium Falcon that came with this set, and I don't know, for whatever reason, upside down. Do this, and then spin him around. You know, have a grand old time if you want to, and then you could have a little Chewbacca. You know, I don't know why he's shooting at his own Millennium Falcon, but there you go. And then you know, if you really wanted to, you could bring in the this Chewbacca from the Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon and say, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm shooting at the Millennium Falcon." I don't know. You could do that. Although those two guys are almost pretty much the same size. So there you go. I'm gonna stop before I keep playing with all the toys. So let's move on. For our next comparison, here we see that Micro Galaxy Millennium Falcon on the left. On the right is the Hot Wheels version, or their Hot Wheels take on the Millennium Falcon. Looking all golden and pretty over there, and got his clear little stand. And looks like he's floating through the air. So there you go. And for our final comparison, here we see that Micro Galaxy Falcon next to, because I am the Transformers guy, this is the Star Wars Transformers crossover Anakin Skywalker Jedi Knight Starfighter. So I don't know what this does for you for scale, but I wanted to bring him in because, hey, Star Wars and Transformers, it's too much fun not to. So through the magic of editing, let's go ahead and transform him so we can see him in bot mode next to this as well. And there you have it. There is Anakin Skywalker in his bot mode, which is a weird thing to say, but it is what it is. And would you looky there, he's giving Obi-Wan Kenobi a piggyback ride. And that's really nice, you know, to always respect your elders, take care of them, not try to strike them down in the middle of a battle while you're on a Death Star. So, yeah, good stuff. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. Just kidding, I actually have a really good feeling about it. Let's go ahead and blow this popsicle stand and get into those final thoughts. Alright, so let's talk real briefly here about the Star Wars Launch Edition Micro Galaxy Squadron Millennium Falcon. Man, this thing is really cool. I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to when I picked it up, and I knew when I picked it up I was going to like it. So I think it's really set the bar high here. I really like what they've done. There's just so much playability. The thing looks great. Feels good in the hand. You know, it's not quite model level as far as detail, but for what you can pick up in a store and not have to do any of the work yourself, it's pretty darn close. So yeah, let's dive into this a little bit. I'm not going to get into as much detail as I normally do with the Transformers, but you know, the overall aesthetic here, inside and out, this thing looks really cool. There are some unfinished areas, you know, when you take the top off here and inside that cockpit, there are some unfinished areas. But when you're talking about something this size for the price, for the fact that you don't have to do any work, you just pick it up and you play with it, I think what they've done here is a great job. And from the outside, you know, the weathering effects, everything, the paint looks really good on this. Even the figures look good. You know, minus Princess Leia and Chewbacca. Princess Leia is a little, you know, and Chewbacca could have used a little bit more work, but at least you can really tell who he is. But Han Solo and Obi-Wan Kenobi look really good for their size. So no complaints there. I think you're really going to enjoy looking at this thing. There's no articulation to speak of, so we're not even going to cover that. The accessories comes with 4 action figures, comes with lights and sounds. You know, you can open that cockpit, you can do all kinds of stuff. The fact that it's got that retractable landing gear, the fact that you can put somebody in the turret here, yeah. So all that is just on point, really good. Overall quality, I don't have any problems with this thing. I think the, you know, molded detail looks good. Like I said, Chewbacca and Princess Leia are a little on the not quite perfect side, but it's definitely not enough to detract from picking this thing up. The only other thing that I would say is I have one set of landing gear that's just slightly looser than the other set. Not enough to be an issue, but I guess it's just something worth mentioning. Getting to the overall value, I think the value's here. I really do. Lately, especially with Transformers, I have been saying that I think the value is slipping. I just have a lot of trouble reconciling the price of mainline Transformers these days. But I would say for this, I think the value's there. With everything that you get and the level of quality and the level of detail, I think this is definitely worth picking up. So I found this at my local Target for $44, and I think it's worth every penny. It's just so much fun to play with. It's just cool to look at. I really have a hard time keeping my hands off of it right now. I'm sure the novelty will wear off eventually, but I do think that it has very high value. So, you know, my final verdict on this thing, my conclusion is that if you're a Star Wars fan of any kind, you're going to want to pick this up. I think this is really, really fun. They also have, they meaning Hasbro, Disney, Star Wars, they have all these other ships that are coming out, and you can be guaranteed that I'm going to be getting some more of those, and I will be reviewing them here on the channel because this is fun. This makes me feel like a kid again. So this is the whole purpose of these. If you have children, get them for your children. Just don't let them swallow the little pieces. If you're just a geek like me, I mean, I have children. Sid is my kid. He enjoys this as well. He's had as much fun playing with this as I have. But kids of all ages are going to enjoy this. So I strongly encourage you to pick this up if you're a Star Wars fan. So with that, that is going to wrap up the review. I really hope that you guys got some good information out of this. I hope that you found it entertaining. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe and leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about the Millennium Falcon, what you think they've done here. I'd love to hear back from you guys. So I try to answer the comments as often as I can. You know, as I've mentioned before, this is not my full-time job. I have another full-time job that sometimes is more than full-time, coupled with the fact of being a father of two. So it's not always the easiest thing to juggle all those tasks, but I'd still love to hear back from you guys. So until we see you in the next review, take care.